Some people can hold their breath like that for almost 8 minutes. They think it's fun, too. On this edition of Scientific American Frontiers, the people who push themselves to the limit. We'll plunge into the depths with the world champion deep diver. We'll scale the heights, even if the body complains. We'll make our brains work like never before.
My brain cells are going, no, please.
And we'll try life off the planet, which is pretty far out.
18,000 miles an hour, pure speed.
I'm Alan ALDA. Join me now to meet the Superpeople.
Brought to you by
Agilent Technologies. A's, C's, G's, and T's. Hidden in all this genetic code is the genetic cause of disease. With technologies from Agilent, scientists can now start turning code into cures.
This program is also made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Meet Loic Leferme, the first of our super people and a superstar in a rapidly growing new international sport. In a deep dive contest called No Limit, he's just pulled off a new world record, 452 feet without taking a breath. Loic is a member of the French national apnea team. Apnea means not breathing. Today they'll be using the same underwater sled Loic broke the record with. It's the team's regular Saturday morning training session, 4 months after the record dive. As they practice, the team members will also be supporting Loic, who today is preparing for a 300-foot training dive.
If you want to be great at that discipline, you have to be more quiet, to relax, and to have a psychological preparation, as it does.
Relaxation is essential. Exertion just consumes the precious single lungful of air. Loic's companions practice an event which requires swimming directly down. They move slowly and deliberately. Loic starts breath-holding exercises. Learning how to stay under like this is the basic skill that deep divers have to develop. The best in the team can do 7 minutes, while most people can manage a minute or less. How long will they stay like that?
I've heard here now only 1 minute and a half.
Only a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Means 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Alan. Try to relax your face and your neck here.
I tried several dives using Loic's relaxation techniques, and my breath holding did begin to improve.
You close your eyes.
These techniques can be very powerful. We're actually liable to defeat our own body's signals to breathe and then black out and drown. That's why teams like these always train in a group and always watch each other like hawks. Oh, that was worse. Oh no, it was longer, wasn't it?
1 and 5. 1 minute and 5.
I stayed under about 10 seconds longer. Surface breath holding is a competitive event, and I could see the fun in it. But it has to be done with others who know the very real risks. It's possible to black out and not realize that you're blacking out.
Of course, you never realize
You never notice it.
blackout.
Yeah, you never notice it. You never realize. So you need somebody else there with you to read the sign. You need an experienced person. This little finger clip detects Loic's heart rate and oxygen level in the blood. His low 70s heart rate with 99% blood oxygen saturation are about normal. Loic is going to perform a long breath hold while we monitor his heart and blood. He's going to be down for 4 minutes. The The secret to these amazing performances is in something called the dive response. It's a primitive reflex triggered when our faces are plunged into water, and it's found in all mammals. One consequence is a dramatic drop in heart rate.
You see, he has lost from 10 to 15 beats per minute after 1 minute of breath holding. He's okay.
Loic's heart rate continues to drop. He's taking a natural reflex and amplifying it through his well-practiced and profound relaxation.
2 minutes and 15 seconds. The O2 saturation is perfect.
The dive response also contracts blood vessels in Loic's limbs, concentrating blood in the vital heart, lungs, and brain.
3 minutes, 30 seconds.
By 3.5 minutes, his blood oxygen is way down. Again, Loic's mental discipline prevails.
The concentration of oxygen in his body is really decreasing, even in his tissue, in the heart, in the brain. But you see that he can bear it. Me, I can't bear it, but he can. Okay, put it on your nose.
What you're doing now is just to get a baseline?
Yeah, just to gain a base capacity.
Loic is not only mentally disciplined, but he trains to keep his body physically very flexible.
Okay, breathe normally.
That's so he can use a technique for increasing lung capacity, which we're just about to measure.
Third time. Then after it will be up to you. Take your hair at the max. Okay, take it, and then blow it very fast. Blow. Keep it, blow. Keep on. Go on. Okay. Okay, it's good. Fine.
Loic scores 5.9 liters, normal for his body size. For the second test, Loic uses a special pumping technique.
Then look, what this technique does is to increase that capacity.
The pumping blows up Loic's lungs literally like a balloon.
Okay, blow. Keep on.
The result is dramatic.
So he went up a whole liter.
Yeah.
He went up from 5.9 to 6.9.
5.99 to 6.9.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top, whenever you want.
Back at the team's training session, Loic is still warming up for his 300-foot or 100-meter dive. Actually, we should say he's slowing down. He's relaxing to heighten the dive response while minimizing exertion.
That first attempt is going very slowly. Usually it doesn't take a lot of time. You can go to 20 meters very fast.
This is just a 20-meter or 60-foot warm-up. But the 100-meter dive that Loic's going to do today would have broken the record in the 1970s. And now, techniques like Loic's are allowing divers to aim for 150 meters. That's nearly 500 feet. Loic drifts back to the group at the surface, satisfied that his dive response is fully functional.
That was good. The training is always like this. It's not like Zen and yoga. But it's another way to relax yourself, because then your head is with the group and you have time to relax, you have time to play.
Now the group checks out the weighted sled that will carry Loic down.
It's the team which is the most important, because the team makes someone go down very deep, and without the team you don't do anything.
The sled is raised with an airbag inflated from a scuba tank that's attached to it. Loic will bring himself up from his deep dive in the same way.
Okay.
Everything is in order. While safety divers stand by, Loic prepares himself. He gets his face wet to stimulate the dive response. His heart rate now starts to drop. The safety divers head down to wait at 100 feet. Although Loic is going below normal scuba limits, they may be needed when he comes up. Loic breathes deeply, then pumps to expand his lungs. The safety divers flash past.
40 seconds is 50 meters. It takes more than 1 minute. 1 minute, 15 seconds to go up to 100 meters. Almost at the bottom, we will see perhaps the rope will be pulled down in 10 seconds. 1 minute.
At this depth, Loic feels great. The pressure has collapsed his lungs to 1/10 their size at the surface, forcing most of the available oxygen into his blood.
It has taken 1 minute and 4 seconds, and now he's going up.
Now comes the dangerous part. Loic's lungs rapidly re-expand, pulling oxygen back out of his blood. He could black out. 30 feet down, he releases the airbag.
We see the balloon. There is a safety free diver with him, and they are coming up very slowly. He's here. We can see him now. Okay.
The last 15 feet, when the lungs expand the most, are the riskiest.
Great.
Everyone's relieved to see Loic in good shape.
Well done.
Well, I'm not diving to 100 meters,
30 seconds.
but I am going to try extending my breath-holding performance.
You try to relax your arms, your neck. Three, 2, 1.
I'm about as relaxed as I can manage with an underwater camera pushed into my face. But it's totally relaxing to know Loic is watching me every second.
It's okay. Relax your neck. Okay, you feel good. You feel good. Close your eyes. Good.
Well, it wasn't much longer, but it was probably the same. What was it?
Oh, it
What
was
do you
better.
feel? What do you feel?
1 minute and 32.
1 minute and 32, 1 minute and 45.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, that's better. After just a few hours training, I had almost doubled my breath holding. And that was no surprise to Loic.
In training 1 month, perhaps you will do 4 or 5 minutes. And sometimes people, they say, oh, it's impossible. Yes, it's possible. You just have to train. And you have to put your mind in the way of apnea. That's all. And that's simple.
Shuffle the deck thoroughly. Set aside 10 cards. Ace of diamonds. And then,
All right.
5 of clubs.
All right.
10 of clubs. Now I'm reading off the remaining 42 cards, just once only. 3 of diamonds.
Okay.
And now Frank Felberbaum, using his memory of the 42 cards I read off, is going to list the missing 10.
Alan, you have the 2 of clubs. Is that correct?
Yes.
You have the 7 of clubs.
Yes.
You have the 9 of clubs.
Yes.
10 of diamonds.
Yes. Frank continues faultlessly.
You have one more card left, huh?
That's right.
You have the King of Spades.
Yes, that's really great. And the card that I thought was in there isn't there. I didn't even get 1 out of 10. This is a story about how to develop a super memory. It does not involve eating ginkgo leaves or vitamin E, but instead learning how to use the brain's resources systematically. When I read off the first card, 7 of spades, what did you do in your head?
Okay. Well, the 7 of spades, to me, represents a rake.
To get from the 7 of spades to rake, Frank uses fixed conversion tables. Spades equals 4, which equals R. 7 equals K. Then he makes a word with RK, rake. It could have been rock or rack, it makes no difference. The point is to create an object in your mind, and then imagine the object in a visual story.
Once you put something into a visual form and then you create a visual scenario, a story that has the visual contents in it, you cannot forget that.
Frank's theory is that since humans are very visual, it's easier for us to handle and to memorize visual scenes rather than abstract symbols like letters and numbers. He can't prove this, although one recent brain study did show that when we work on spatial problems, we use twice the brain area that we employ for verbal tasks. The fact is, we know so little about the process of memory that improving it becomes a purely practical matter. If it works, it works.
You may begin now.
We're going to find out if what Frank does works here at the U.S. Memory Olympics, held in New York City in February 2000. Open to all, it's a day of competitive memory challenges that most of us would be happy to avoid. Frank is coaching a team from Bergen County Academy, a New Jersey high school. Work started 5 months earlier.
This is Spiros Nikolopoulos. This is Lilan Wang. My goal in life is to raise you.
By the way, these are smart kids, but they're not a specially selected group of high flyers, including me.
Is beyond your expectations. Don't say it, just write it. If you know the first name, write it too, but last name.
To start the day, there's a test.
Okay, anybody? Nobody got this one. Ah, interesting.
Frank promises by the end of the day we'll do this much better.
Eileen. It's a Dutch name. It's Van Etten. All right, how many got 3? Anybody? All right, 1, 2.
And there's certainly room for improvement. The class average was just 30% correct names.
1, 2, 3, 4.
For this event in the contest, there are 15 minutes to memorize up to 99 names and faces, with 20 minutes for recall.
Time is up.
I think I did decently. For every name, like full name, we get 2 points, and there were 99 names, and I think I got about 30 of them, so around 60.
I put around 32, 33 names down, but who knows if they're right.
Frank's team is up against people who love these challenges and know they're good at them, including the reigning U.S. champion, TATIANA COOLEY.
If I got all of them correctly, 88.
Third place person with 75.5 names and faces was Joseph Song.
In the first event, third place went to one of Frank's team.
Our second place person with 81 points in breaking the USA mark also was Terry Williams. And the new U.S. world record of 85 will belong to TATIANA COOLEY.
TATIANA's in the lead with 4 events to go. She can only roughly describe how she does it.
I was sort of taking a feature from their face and making that something to remember, and then looking at the name and...
Let me give you a way to remember my name, okay? First of all,
We don't know how to explain a talent like TATIANA's, but for the rest of us, Frank's got a system we can use.
Okay, fell. Very easy, something fell, right? Okay. All right, add another L. Let's go to the last part. What does bomb sound like that's concrete and visual to you? A bomb. Okay. So I got a falling bomb now. All right, now let's go to the middle part. What does BER sound like to you? What does it sound? Cold. And what if you stretch it a little bit? What do you got? Cold what? Close. Beer. Beer. Cold beer. Okay. So we now have falling bottles of beer coming down from the sky in the shape of bombs. Where are they going to go?
Oh, into your face.
Went to my face. What feature would you choose on my face?
Nose.
My nose. I knew we'd say that. Okay. All right, so now that's an easy one. It's standing out. So all those bottles of beer coming down, crashing down on my nose, exploding, all the beer going all over my face, right? You can imagine that happening. The more unusual an image you create in your mind about information, the more you're going to remember it. It's the ordinary, everyday things that slip through the cracks. Look at the feature you chose.
After a day of coaching, we're using the system on a fresh group of names and faces, and occupations, too.
Last name? Rotsky. First name? Joseph. What does he do? Where? Right on. Give yourself 3 points if you got all three of those. And what's her last name? Madigan. Madigan. First name? Jeannie. What does she do?
Well, I missed that one, but it's obvious we're all doing a lot better than before.
New York City Police Department.
Right.
Okay.
Lieutenant Madigan. In fact, the class average more than doubled to 80% correct.
Okay. Last name? Newton. First name?
Derek.
Occupation?
Computer analyst.
Computer analyst. Right.
What if I put programmer?
Okay.
Oh, same thing.
I'll give myself
I put
3
down
points.
his first name as right.
All right. Last name? Palladino. First name?
Frank.
Good name. And occupation?
Investment banker.
Investment broker.
You got them all.
She got them all right.
Goldman Sachs.
Everything?
Right.
You got everything?
Well, I wrote banker instead of broker, but I...
That's okay. Investment banker, investment broker. That's all right.
Yes, go me!
All right.
Over several months, Frank taught his students how to tackle all 5 contest events.
That's incredible.
That didn't make them easy, just doable. The word event, for example. 15 minutes to memorize up to 500 random words in order. Frank's method is to weave the words into a memorable story.
If you're ready, start now.
Edison Hong got as far as 75 words.
I think I did pretty well in this event. I created a story in my mind and like all 75 just quickly came out.
Third place winner with a score of 96. Now our U.S. record for this event was 65. I mean, this is incredible performance here. There we go with a score of 96. Helen Cho.
Third place to one of Frank's team.
Helen Cho, can you please stand up, Helen? Stand up. Our second place person with a score of 106, Edison Hong.
Second place to one of Frank's team.
Our new record for the USA belongs now to Christopher Turner.
And Frank's method gets first place, too.
When I was memorizing them, I just kind of looked at the word list, and it all kind of fell together into one big story that I owned an island. And then as I'm going back through, the story's coming out, and I'm seeing pictures in my mind, and the words are just coming straight out.
Next, there are just lines of random numbers to be recalled in order. Frank's method? Convert numbers to letters, make words with the letters, then make a story with the words. When it's time to recall, just reverse the process. And Frank's method worked again.
In third place is Ryan Jeffrey. In second place is Tatiana. And the winner is Joseph Some.
Another win for Frank's team. Joseph Song recalled 56 consecutive numbers. It's enough to drop Tatiana back to second overall. The second to last event is a peculiar 60-line poem.
In the land of dreams, change is constant, insistent, incessant, at the scimitar blade instant of happening.
It's tough to use Frank's system to create a story because the poem's already a kind of story. Tatiana's really good at this.
Riverbank. All movement, like atoms, was
With 45 lines perfectly recalled, it's an easy win.
dreams had been reversed, memory once last, now first. Near the stage front,
She's back on top.
of black beetles basked in the burnishing beams of the sun. And I have quite a headache right now. I think it's from thinking so hard. All my brain cells are going, no, please. No more.
Please begin now.
It's the final event. 5 minutes to memorize a shuffled deck of cards in order. Frank has taught the students to lay out the cards in threes, convert them to words, then make sentences from the words. He can do a whole deck, as we saw at the beginning. It takes terrific concentration. Tatiana doesn't really have a method, at least not consciously.
Would you begin your recall now?
Edison Hong, second in the standings, has a long way to go to beat Tatiana.
King of spades.
Correct.
And right away, Tatiana's in trouble. She goes wrong after just 9 cards. Edison, though, gets as far as 18.
Hearts.
Our second place winner with a score of 337 points and off to London is Edison Hong.
Overall, Edison's score in cards was enough to move him up to second. The top 3 attend the World Championship in London. Third place was another of Frank's team, Joseph Song. And astonishingly, the team took the next 7 places. What they couldn't do was catch the brilliant Tatiana.
For the third year in a row, it's Tatiana.
For Frank, though, he'd proved his point.
I'm absolutely ecstatic. It's like my own children did this. And it shows you what the potential of the human mind is.
The Alps. Beautiful, enticing, and all too often, deadly. Hardly able to move, this climber is a victim of mountain sickness. Here at 15,000 feet, thin air is starving her body of oxygen. 1 in 10 climbers get so sick, their lives are in danger. She could become one of them. It's an all too common sight for the mountain guides.
Sono di qui al recupero sono 10 minuti. It's mostly from the high altitude why they get very tired. Sometimes they burn it in the snow, and they walk like drunken people. But mostly they don't like any help, but they don't like to go down also. It's strange. It's difficult to say why they don't go back.
Going back would clear the symptoms. But like most climbers, she goes on. Getting to the top despite the risks is what mountaineering is all about, of course. Nowadays, more and more people are taking the risks. On distant peaks around the world, we're seeing the tragic consequences. The problem is we're not all super people. We can't all be brilliant mountaineers. This story is about trying to predict the basic attribute that mountaineers need, not to get altitude sickness on their way to the top.
There is a big population that exposes itself to high altitude. If you look at the Rocky Mountains, all the resorts you have there, if you look at the Andes, if you see look around here, see how popular mountaineering is. This is, I think, an important question to these people.
that we find measures how to predict and how to treat and how to prevent these illnesses.
Here in Heidelberg, Germany, Peter Bertsch is trying to develop a test to predict which climbers will get altitude sickness. He's recruited volunteers willing to push their bodies to the limit in the lab and then go mountain climbing. This is Arndt. His testing begins by finding out how fit he is. As he works harder, his body responds by increasing his heart rate, pumping more blood to his muscles and so supplying them with more oxygen to burn. To get that extra oxygen into his blood, he breathes faster and more deeply. Now the real test begins. Arndt's oxygen is cut back, simulating high altitude. The idea is to see how he responds when there is less oxygen available. Again, his heart rate increases, and again his breathing gets faster and deeper. At the equivalent of 15,000 feet, Arndt is breathing 5 times more air than usual, even at rest. This is Michael, another volunteer for the test. On the fitness test, he's as good as Arndt. But when Michael's oxygen is reduced, there's a striking difference. At a simulated 15,000 feet, Michael's breathing is little different from what it was at normal altitude. Even during moderate exercise, his body, unlike Arndt, seems to be ignoring the fact that his oxygen supply is dropping. The Heidelberg researchers wondered if people like Michael, whose bodies don't seem to recognize they're getting into trouble when oxygen is scarce, might be the ones most susceptible to mountain sickness. There was one way to find out. Perched at 15,000 feet on the Italian-Swiss border is the perfect laboratory, a 100-year-old mountain hut, the highest building in Europe. Peter Bertsch, the leader of the Heidelberg team, is heading there now. He's taking it slowly, giving his body time to acclimate. But the subjects in his experiment don't have that luxury. They climb fast, rising 2 miles in elevation in just over a day. The experiment is designed so that neither Bertsch nor his subjects know how they performed in their lab tests. So Arndt, for instance, doesn't know his tests suggested he'd cope with mountain air by breathing much harder.
How are you feeling? I feel good. Very good. Good air.
Michael, who didn't adapt his breathing in the lab test, is finding the going rough. As the test predicted, his body isn't getting the message that the air up here is thinner. But then there's a third subject, Udo, who, like Arndt, adapted fine in the lab, but may be having the first hint of a problem.
I've just a little bit of a headache, very little bit, and except this I'm feeling really good, and I'm lucky to do this now.
We're going to see what happens to Arndt, Michael, and Udo once they reach Peter Bertsch's mountaintop laboratory. Night falls, the most dangerous time for those vulnerable to mountain sickness. During the shallow breathing of sleep, blood oxygen levels can drop steeply. 6 hours after arriving, Arndt, whose tests suggested he'd do well at high altitude, is absorbed in a murder mystery. But Udo, whose test results also suggested he'd cope, is in trouble.
When I came up, I was feeling quite good, but then it was developing a big headache, and it was a stomach ache, and it wasn't good. I had to vomit.
All he wants to do now is rest.
My body is exhausted, and I have to sleep, and so I hope that I will have a good night.
Knowing the dangers of the night, Bertsch makes regular checks. At 5:30 a.m., the only one complaining is Udo.
Morgen. Wie geht's?
Hervorragend. Udo has a lot of problems. He was vomiting once at night and he had headache. I gave him some drugs and symptoms went away. He didn't feel nauseated anymore, but he couldn't sleep.
I had just an incredible headache the whole night. I got some pills, some drugs, but they didn't help, so I didn't sleep the whole night. And I think another night like this and I'm going crazy. It's just you can't sleep and it's almost banging the whole night. But
To make this a scientifically unbiased experiment, neither Udo nor Berch knows that his test predicted his breathing should adjust, but it hasn't prevented his worsening symptoms. Arndt, meanwhile, is doing fine as predicted. His balance is good, his blood oxygen normal.
Now I feel me good, only müde, which I'm tired.
He would love to climb the Duvelspitze or any other mountain here. I think he's actually enjoying himself here. That's my impression.
Which leaves Michael, who is definitely not enjoying himself. Of course, Berch doesn't know his pre-climb test suggested he wouldn't adjust his breathing to high altitude. He's now very sick.
The problem with him was he didn't call us last night when he went to bed. He already realized that something was wrong. And no one called us. And when I saw him this morning, he was really in a severe condition. I think if we had caught him earlier, we could have stopped the process at an early level.
Michael's decision to tough out the night could have been a fatal error.
I didn't notice twice that I was getting worse and worse. So I just this morning at 5:30, they wake me up and I couldn't do anything.
X-rays show Michael has advanced pulmonary edema. The lace-like pattern in his lungs, especially on the right, is accumulating fluid.
This means that we have a very severe illness. If we do not treat Michael, he's most likely going to die. Fluid will accumulate in all his lung and he will eventually drown. And we have to immediately install treatment by giving oxygen now and fly him down as soon as possible.
The oxygen will stabilize Michael's condition for a while, but the only way to clear the fluid from his lungs is to get him off the mountain fast. A rescue helicopter is called in from Zermatt, Switzerland. For Michael, the experiment is over. As it turned out, the breathing test Peter Berch hopes might help predict mountain sickness was accurate in Michael's case. And by not admitting he was having problems, he got into serious trouble. Fortunately, after a few days at low altitude, he'll make a complete recovery. Back at the hut, there's a farewell dinner. Tomorrow, all the subjects will be heading down. Feeling fine to the end is Arndt, whose pre-climb test also proved accurate. But Udo, whose test results suggested he'd cope, got sick, at least temporarily. So the breathing test alone isn't the perfect predictor.
I'm feeling good now. It's okay. I have no more headache and I'm fine now.
And as things turned out, Udo's acclimation and Michael's rescue had come in the nick of time. A fierce blizzard means no helicopter could have made it in today. For Udo and Arndt, it's going to be a difficult climb down. While the experiment was promising, the mystery of why altitude illness devastates some but leaves others unaffected isn't solved yet. These young people now know if they want to be super mountaineers, the best advice is the old advice. Climb slowly, heed the warning signs, and you'll be back to climb another day. 250 miles above the Earth. It's May 16th, 1997. The American space shuttle Atlantis edges toward Mir, the Russian space station, and gently docks. One Mir crew member is especially happy today. It's Jerry Linenger, an American who's been in space for the last 5 months. He's going home. Three years later, Jerry and his wife Catherine live here in northern Michigan. Life in space was filled with problems. But for Jerry, it was also exhilarating, even life-changing.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hello,
How are you doing,
how
sir?
are you?
Nice
Very
to meet you. Come on in.
How are you? Thank you.
Come on in. Kat, we got guests.
Hi, hello.
Hi,
how are you?
what a
Hi.
delight to
Glad
meet
to
you.
How are you? What's his name?
His name is Henry.
Henry. Hi, Henry.
Yeah.
That must have been hard for you both, for you to be in space and you to have a little baby. And
It was, and I spent the entire time over in Russia while he was
Yeah.
up too, so.
By having Catherine there, we thought we'd be able to talk once a week at least, but we had failures of those systems also, and so it didn't work out. But Catherine spent the 5 months I was in space over in Star City, Russia.
Jerry started training at Star City, the once top-secret cosmonaut training center outside Moscow, in 1995. For 2 years, he was taught the Russian systems, the spacesuits, the cramped Soyuz re-entry vehicle, every detail of plumbing, wiring, and computers on board Mir. Instruction was entirely in Russian, so we had to pick that up pretty quickly. You could say Jerry was a political pioneer before he was a space pioneer. He was one of the original 5 astronauts in the Joint Shuttle Mir program, in which U.S. dollars helped prop up the Russian space program after the Soviet Union's collapse. But regardless of the political overtones, the fact is, the Russians at that time had a near monopoly on long-duration spaceflight. They've been blasting cosmonauts up to the Mir station since 1986. Jerry arrived on Mir in January 1997, brought up by the shuttle. He learned to enjoy living in weightlessness. These are mankind's first steps toward space travel and colonization, he believes, and he's helping to blaze the trail. But he's also a down-to-earth scientist and ex-Navy flight surgeon. When he got back, he found his months in space had led to a 13% loss of bone mass in the lower spine.
what does 13% bone loss translate into? What is that, like serious osteoporosis
It's
or what?
pretty serious osteoporosis. And what it really is leaching of the calcium. You know, this little frame structure here is built to hold the load. Our bones are built to hold the load, and it's an earth jolt load that we can hold. You get in space, you float, the structure says, I'm overbuilt, starts dumping calcium, says I'm too strong, very smart, the bone is, starts losing. Unfortunately in space, it doesn't need any strength essentially because you're floating and it just loses too much.
To counteract this effect, onboard Mir, exercise is mandatory for all crew members, using a bungee cord harness to simulate gravity.
Good supporting harness.
The Russians discovered this deterioration, and they developed the countermeasures. But the problem is you're still weightless most of the day. Bone and muscle loss is a major potential obstacle to space travel in the future.
How severe is that loss going to be? I mean, you were working out 2 hours a day, and you still had the 13% loss.
That can be a showstopper. The bone is just too smart, and it says I'm overbuilt, and it just keeps dumping.
Apart from some friction with Moscow ground control, Jerry adapted easily to life in space. He didn't mind washing in a few ounces of water squeezed from a tube. He stayed healthy. He never got headaches or motion sickness, both common in space. His body began to think weightlessness was normal. And then he came back to Earth.
The first few nights, I'd lie there and I'd say, you're on Earth, you're not going to fly, you're not going to fly. But I just could not relax enough. I ended up taking my sheet, rolling it up, wrapping it around me as a constraining device, And then I was able to close my eyes and sleep.
In those 5 months you were in space, you had become so accustomed to any little force that would send you flying that you couldn't take it just lying in bed.
I was a spaceman. Good night.
He loved being a spaceman, but he paid a price, the bone loss, and something much scarier.
Sleeping some nights, all of a sudden I'd see flash, 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 flash. Looked like a bright flash bulb of a camera. And what's happening is I'm getting hit with radiation. Incredibly, I turn my head 90 degrees and I'd see a contrail. A little bit less dense light, but spread out linearly. Turn again, pinpoint, very bright.
Wow.
Realize it's coming from that direction, very directional source, probably from a solar flare. You know, I'm thinking family, things like that. You're doing this. You're sort of, I really don't like getting radiated up here. Get behind some big lead batteries, try to block it. Couldn't block it.
Now, as he looks out at Lake Michigan, Jerry hopes the radiation won't have long-term effects. His bones, at least, are almost back to normal. But the aging Mir also nearly cost Jerry and his 2 Russian companions their lives, with the worst fire ever in orbit.
Didn't it burn for like 14 minutes?
About a 14-minute fire, I'll tell you. It was master alarm blaring. I turned the corner, peer down the length of the module, kind of the end of a school bus, if you will, out of a solid fuel oxygen canister, big, kind of looks like a garbage can, big metal container filled with a slurry of oxygen-rich chemical coming out of that thing. Instead of percolating a little bit of oxygen, we got a big flame coming out, 2-3 feet in length, this big around.
And smoke?
Smoke just like I've never seen smoke come billowing out of a fire. Within 30 seconds, couldn't see the fingers in front of your face. Wow. And the first words out of my mouth said, "Not good." You know? Understatement of my life, but that's what I said. Look low, try to get some air. Warm air doesn't rise in space. There's no density difference. Smoke doesn't rise in space. Smoke is everywhere. I see a window, I think open the window. Can't do that in space. You got a vacuum out there.
Yeah.
Call 911 goes through my head. I tell you, all the normal things.
Call 911?
I called 911. And I actually was laughing when I looked at that window and said, "Jerry, you can't open the window."
The things that I think pretty much saved our lives are these oxygen breathing devices. And during the fire, of course, that had to go on quickly.
The crew rapidly found their oxygen respirators, but for Jerry, that was almost the end.
Breathe in, I get nothing. Breathe in again, mask collapses around my face. I got a failed respirator. Not a good day. Throw that off. Feel my way along the bulkhead. Can't see a thing. Smoke right in your face. You know, the next minute of my life, that's in my brain forever. That's split second by split second. Adrenaline flowing. I had thoughts about my family here. I told my wife, "I love you, Catherine. Take care of our son, John." Feeling my way along. I actually looked around. I said, "Wow, what a strange place to die." Finally get to the second respirator. Mask over my head. I activate. Say, "God help me." Breathe in and I get air. You know, just hyperventilate the next 30 seconds and then I yell, "We're going to get that fire out."
They'd saved their own lives, and the fire eventually burned out. Jerry also found the right stuff within himself when he was swung out to replace some equipment, surrounded by the emptiness of space.
I felt detached, and all at once I felt speed. Gut level, I felt 18,000 miles an hour.
So what happened? What was your reaction to that?
You know, grab on.
Now that sounds, that's a familiar feeling to me. That sounds to
You
me
know
like
that one.
an anxiety attack right there. Now,
It's not anxiety. It's just,
you wouldn't call that anxiety.
I wouldn't call that anxiety. Keeps me up at night. That's just fear.
Then on the way back in, he had to cross the same empty void.
I get swung back, same point in space, no man's land. I get the same sensation again. This time I take my tethers, attach them, push off, fling my arms out, and go, "Yahoo, what a thrill." You know, this is incredible.
You're crazy.
Well, it's incredible. I'm telling myself 18,000 miles an hour, pure speed. Man, how many people have ever felt this?
That's extraordinary. In that 1 hour, you got so that you were saying Yahoo.
Yahoo, ability of the human being to adapt, to change, immeasurable.
Jerry was supremely adaptable. First Star City, then space, and now back to Earth.
You're plunging through the atmosphere. And if you don't like turbulence in an airplane, you would not like re-entry in the shuttle. Pull about 1.5 Gs, I'm moving my arms, I'm telling Houston I'm doing okay. Last thing we do, 180-degree turn, dive down at the earth, Charlie pulls back, Eileen Collins lets the gear down. Touchdown, Eileen lets out the drag chute, nose gear down. Get a call from the flight deck, how you doing, Jerry? He said, I'm doing all right, able to move my head, feel my chest doing this.
Yeah.
Could literally feel my heart, and people say you're crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm a doctor and I'm a physiologist, and I know what I was feeling. I could feel my heart muscle, the 2 ventricles, 2 muscle chambers of the heart.
Do I have this right? Your heart suddenly had gravity to contend with that it was not any longer used to, huh?
Exactly. It had to pump blood from here to the brain and support that, the weight of the blood. In space, my pulse was around 30, 35 beats a minute for the most part, even when I'm working, because it doesn't take much to pump the blood to your brain when you're floating. So all at once, you've got that challenge of gravity yanking you down, your heart pumping, trying to keep yourself conscious. Side hatch opens, you know, fresh air just comes billowing in, and you know, earth air. You don't have to make it, don't have to measure it, just tastes good.
As far back as the 70s, we've known how hard it is to readapt to Earth after a long flight. Muscles and bones are weak, balance and coordination are disrupted. At this point, Jerry's extraordinary adaptability and determination triumphed once again.
Tough back on Earth with that gravity yanking.
But you wanted to walk.
I wanted to walk. You know, the flight surgeon came on and said, Jerry, 2 big guys out here will carry you off. Just let us know when you're ready. Take an hour, 2 hours. When you're ready, let us know. I told him, I said, Tom, I've been in space for 5 months. I've overcome a lot of tough times. And maybe foolish pride, but I said, I'm an officer of the United States Navy, and we don't get carried off on stretchers. And my wife hasn't seen me in 5 months. I don't want her to see me carried off on a stretcher. And I told him, I'm going to walk off this thing, or I'm going to crawl off this thing, but I'm going to get off on my own power. I'll tell you, though, biggest surprise of my entire Russian experience is that we got along. You know, here I am, U.S. naval officer, used to fly off aircraft carriers, Indian Ocean, escorting Russian Bear bombers away from the carrier task force, radar locked on, missiles ready to fire. Vasily Sableyev used to live over in East Germany, MiG fighter pilot, opposing our NATO forces in West Germany. They stick us together in a school bus off the planet for 5 months, pressure cooker environment. You know, who would think we could get along? Yeah. Different language, different culture, different backgrounds.
And what was it? Was it just that you all thought that the mission control in Moscow was your common enemy, or what?
The common enemy is sort of nice. I wouldn't put it that extreme, but you know what it is? It's common goal.
Yeah.
You got a goal, colonize space, bigger than us as individuals, bigger than our countries, bigger than our differences. You set all that baggage aside, and you accomplish the goal. That 5 months in space was so profoundly different that it changed me as a human being. That grand view of the Earth, man. You know, you're looking out a hook of Cape Cod, Florida, the Buddha, Italy, Sicily, curvature of the Earth, absolute big picture. When I see people having a little conflict, first thing I do, I step back, look at the bigger picture. Eventually, understanding follows. I had a little press report. I got a one-liner saying they're slaughtering each other down in Bosnia. And I always wish, I could snap my fingers and get us all up there. And I think we'd change our attitudes toward the environment, toward our closed ecosystem here on Earth, toward getting along with people. So a lot of those things, that 5 months off the planet, becoming a spaceman, changed me a lot.
And wouldn't we all be super people if we could adopt Jerry's view of the Earth's problems? That's all for this edition. See you next time. Come visit us at PBS Online. Scientific American Frontiers can be found on the World Wide Web at pbs.org or America Online, keyword PBS.
You want to cut some?
See how the Stone Age led to baseball, and why Noah's flood may have been a snowball.
I'm Alan Alda. Join me next time as Scientific American Frontiers heads out to explore some of life's really big questions.
Brought to you by
Agilent Technologies. The next generation of wireless communication is here, and technologies from Agilent are helping make it all possible. We've taken the fiction out of science fiction.
This program is also made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. To order this episode on video cassette or other programs from Scientific American Frontiers, call PBS Home Video at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.
This is PBS.